is thinking.
I'm dedicated to it. I can't be stopped.
All right. Ow, bullseye. The mystical flight of the arrow will cleanse your soul. Welcome back to the Ted Nugent Real America Voice Spirit Campfire. We're at 76.6 years clean and sober. My life is a whirlwind of positive energy, positive spirit, positive attitude. And it's because my dad raised me to aim small, miss small. It's really that simple. And I started raising maximum hell before there was any such thing as political correctness or cancel culture or deep state criminality, when rock and rollers used to attack me because I carried a gun and ate venison. Well, I murder innocent deer and guns cause crime. And my instincts and my experience in life said, well, that's insanity, because conservation and self-defense are two of the most perfect things a person can do. So instinctively, I literally chewed down their family tree and spit toxic sawdust in their face with truth, logic, and common sense. And the master of Second Amendment, firearms history, and current events is my friend, and I got to tell you, my hero, Dr. John Lott of the Crime Prevention Research Center. John, thank you for all these years of bringing the truth about firearms and crime, because rarely is the access to firearms relative to crime, whereas your book, More Guns Equal Less Crime, where we indeed have better access to firepower, crime goes down and innocent lives are saved. Thank you, John, for driving that home, and welcome to the campfire.
Well, thank you for being there, Ted. I guess we both have a mutual admiration society here, because you've made a huge difference in all this stuff. Yeah, just on your point you're making, just a simple note, and that is every place in the world that's banned either all guns or all handguns has seen murder rates go up. I mean, if guns on net are bad, as so many people in the gun control movement want to claim, you'd think it'd be easy to find places, all the places when guns are banned, murder rate should go down. And yet every single time it's gone up. You know, it's not just places like Chicago and Washington, D.C., where we had the bans. Gun control advocates will say, well, those aren't fair tests, because unless you go and you ban guns every place in the country, it won't work. It would have been nice if they had kind of told us that before the bans went into effect, that they didn't think it was going to work. But even island nations that have banned guns, every single time it goes up, and often by 3, 4, 5, even 7-fold increases in murder rates after the bans occurred. And there's a simple reason for that, and that is this applies to many different types of gun control laws. When you pass a ban, it's going to be the most law-abiding, good citizens who obey the ban. And if you primarily are disarming the potential victims relative to the criminals, you actually make it easier for the criminals to go and commit crimes.
Well, number one, John, thank you for dedicating your life to this, because it really does boil down to the difference between good people being able to defend themselves and tyrannical kings and emperors and despots and slave drivers telling us we can't. I think I coalesced it most efficiently when Pierce Morgan, why would they send a limey to take Ted Nugent on a Second Amendment debate? That was the most fun I've ever had.
It was very entertaining to watch you talk to him anyway.
Well, and again, I bring it down because I've been doing this battle since I was a teenager, and I don't really consider it a battle. I just consider it a bludgeoning. I bludgeoned them with the facts, and I brought it to the most understandable common denominator. More people die from drowning than all firearms deaths by far. So I told Pierce, I go, I'll tell you what, you get rid of the guns and I'll work on getting rid of the water. It's really that simple. You're not going to get rid of the water, and you're not going to get rid of the guns. When I grew up, before the Gun Control Act of '68, well, actually it was before that, the NFA, you could literally order a Thompson submachine gun from the Sears catalog, and there was no such term as mass shooting. So, John, give us some examples, because you've dedicated your life to research this. People go to crime research. Is it crimeresearch.com, John?
Crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org.
Crimeresearch.org. My friends out there, if you want to make a donation that has an impact on good over evil, help John Lott because he has irrefutable evidence. He's dedicated his life to research where gun grabbers have succeeded and innocent lives are lost, where as if I need a constitutional carry. I was born with a constitutional carry, but where more people have guns on them, violent crime goes down and fewer innocent lives are lost. Give us some of those examples that completely defy the claims of the Michael Bloombergs of the world.
Right. Well, I mean, the simple point that you're making is, look, this isn't rocket science. If you want to reduce crime, you have to make it riskier for criminals to commit crime. Higher arrest rates, higher conviction rates, longer prison sentences, the death penalty, all make it riskier for criminals to commit crime. But the fact that victims might be able to go and defend themselves also makes it riskier for criminals to go and commit crime. And, you know, you look at surveys of police. Police are among the strongest supporters of private ownership of guns. They know how important guns are for themselves and the jobs that they do. But police also understand that they virtually always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred. And the question is, what should people do when they're having to confront a criminal by themselves? And having a gun is by far the safest course of action for someone to take when they're confronting a criminal. And the thing is, the people who benefit the most from having guns are the most vulnerable people in society. They're basically two groups of people who benefit the most from having a gun. People who are relatively weaker physically, women and the elderly. You know, when a man is attacking a woman, and you're almost always talking about young male criminals, there's a much larger strength difference that exists there than when a man is attacking another man. And the presence of a gun represents a much bigger relative change in a woman's ability to go and protect herself. The other group of people who benefit the most are the ones who are the most likely victims of violent crime. And that tends to be poor blacks who live in high crime urban areas. You know, again, it'd be great if the police were there all the time in order to try to protect people. But again, the police themselves, despite the fact that they are extremely important, I think they're the single most important factor for reducing crime, know that they can't be there all the time. We recently just completed a study that people can see on our website that looks at active shooting attacks and how they get stopped. The FBI collects data on what they call active shooting cases. These are cases where guns are fired in public, not part of some other type of crime like a robbery or a gang fight over drug turf. Anything from one person being shot at and missed all the way up to a mass public shooting. And if you look at the data over the last decade, there's 505 of these active shooting cases. But what I found very surprising. You find that civilians actually stop these attacks at a higher rate than uniformed police officers do. And that when they do stop them, there are fewer people who get killed or injured in these attacks than when police are involved. And that police officers who stop these attacks are 7 times more likely to end up being killed when they're trying to stop these attacks than civilians do. And there's some other things we can go through, but there's a simple reason for all this. And that is having somebody in uniform. They have a very difficult job. People need to appreciate what a difficult job police have. If you have somebody in uniform, that gives these attackers real tactical advantages. They can either wait for the officer to leave the area before they attack because he's one person they know is armed, or they can move on to another target themselves. Both of those make it less likely that an officer will be present when an attack occurs. Or if they decide that they're going to do the attack in that place, who do you think they take out first? You know, they're going to take out the guy in uniform first. And so that makes their job much more dangerous. You know, one way of thinking about this, we have air marshals on planes. Do you know anybody who thinks that we ought to go and have air marshals in uniform? Why aren't air marshals in uniform? Well, the answer is pretty obvious, and that is if you have a terrorist there on the plane and the air marshal's in uniform, who do you think the terrorist is going to take out first? So it would completely defeat the purpose of having an air marshal there. And the other thing just to point out is that we have about 670,000 full-time active law enforcement in the country. You know, maybe you have 230,000 or so on duty at any point in time, but that's 230,000 people that have to go and protect 340 million people. And they have all sorts of other tasks that they have to go and try to deal with. You know, by contrast, we go and count the number of people with concealed carry permits each year, and there's about 21.5 million concealed carry permit holders in the United States. Plus, there are 29 constitutional carry states where it's not even necessary for somebody to have a permit. So, you know, the odds that you're simply going to have somebody with a concealed handgun who's legally carrying at that time when there's attack it's much higher. And it's also one of the reasons when you're talking about something like a mass public shooting, when they're trying to kill lots of people, these attackers may be crazy in some sense, but they're not stupid. Their goal is to get media attention. You know, you've
Well, John, I got to tell you, yeah, we got a hard break, but thank you for all your research. God bless. CrimeResearch.org. John Lott, my hero. Godspeed, buddy.